What's up, students? Devlin Cassidy, aka The Scholar, and I told you guys I'd get you my Katrina list because, of course, we are out here wrapping up all of the zoo clans for today. But before we get into it, make sure you guys go shop with Kingslayer cards to get cards of your own. Use a promo code SCHOLAR, save 5% off on your whole entire purchase. We have events coming up soon, which I made posts about, so please go check those out if you have not. They will be August 12th and 13th down at Ducks and Dice and Florida, so please show out if you can, but let's get into it. So we're going to start off with our starter here. V starters are broken. Just play these because, you know, they're good. And then for our main grade 3, we're playing 4 copies of the Grand Jewel Dragon. This card, the reason this card is good is because it helps us have a really strong grade 2 game, because this card can generate 5 attacks on its own, and with the new promo, it can generate 6. So this card is very strong in the grade 2 game. If you're able to push your opponent up to 4 damage, you can straight up kill them if you ride up into this card. But this card also generates the 10k plant tokens that also have boost and intercept, and these cards are very strong because they can make you very strong early game tokens that can actually transcend really well to when you get to your stride turn. You still have some of these on board with Katrina. Katrina makes these absolutely fat in power, and so you just are able to get just through high amounts of damage. So this card overall is very, very good, and that's why I like to play it as the main grade 3. Going into this, we're playing 3 copies of Maiden of Stampione. You never want to like ride this card for a ride up. This card is strictly like for going second to make multiple plant tokens, so that way your Katrina is more effective on the on ride, because when she's ridden, she makes 2 tokens instead of just the 1. But if you call it a rear, she makes 1, so she's perfectly fine. Makes a force marker, so she does what you need to do for the ride ups. On to grade 2s, we're playing 4 copies of Pansy Musketeer Sylvia. This card is just on place, make a token. You can't really ask for more than this. This card's been great forever in Nectar and has really just helped do what Katrina wants to do. So this is why we play 4. I don't think anything's really better than this right now. 3 of the new Horticulture Elf. This is the ride fixer, but we don't use it for its like ride fixing purposes like you would inside like the high roll vanilla build where you're trying to find the grade 2 always. But this card is really just an attack extender for us and helps us get tokens. So you can call this early during your Katrina turn if you've only been able to generate 1 plant token off of the Katrina ability. So this makes you get 2, so you can call 2 things from deck. So this card is very, very good for the CB. Just it has to be boosted, but it's just a really good another attack extender overall. Speaking of attack extenders, we're playing 2 Maiden of Gladiolus. This card is very strong just because it lets you go grab a clone from deck. So it can set you up another like whole pretty strong column on a Katrina turn if you go grab like a Sylvia or something. So that's only why we play 2 of it though, is because it's a 9k and it's at GB1. Then we're playing 2 copies of the grade 2 Gladiolus Dragon. This is just to help have a search target for the grade 1, but it also helps us find the grade 3 if we're missing it. So that's why we just play this card, but it's not really that great for its on-place effect for the rear guard, so that's why it's just like only 15k buff. It's not really necessary. And then to round off the grade 2s, I'm playing 2 copies of the Irmisol. This is the only like card that like actively draws cards in our deck, so that's why we kind of like it. Plus it beasts the column by 10k, so that's why we like it. And it's just one level of ways to use counterblasts in this deck to kind of gain some advantage. On to the grade 1s, playing 4 copies of the grade 1 Grand Jewel Dragon. This will help you search for the grade 2. Check top 7. If you whiff, you'll call one of those grade 0 10k plant tokens. But the reason he's better than the grade 2 is because when you call him from hand, if you call him over a plant token that has 10,000 or more power, you'll be able to draw a card, and this gets 10k. So this is actually like the better Grand Jewel target out of the other 2 Grand Jewel Dragons when you're like riding up for grade 3. So this is why this card's pretty good. And then I'm playing 3 copies of Maiden of Sweetberry. This card essentially is a 13k booster, can give you soul if you need it, and it also generates a plant token like on place. A lot of the grade 1s are just, you know, call, get a plant token, so this card is really good and one of the best cards to do it. 3 of the Maiden of Flower Carpet. This card is like one of the very few ways Nectar can like kind of get a hand. So she's in the drop zone, you can retire 2 plant tokens and you add her back to your hand. But this is a hard like once per turn, so you can't have like 4 plant tokens and 2 of this in drop and add it to hand, but it's just one of the few ways you can actually get some cards back in your hand, because like Katrina averages like 7 cards after the first stride in hand, so it's just kind of low because you're just kind of OTKing your opponent. But when it's placed, it makes a plant token, so it still does revenue that Katrina wants. 2 copies of the Loga PG. This is like when you call it from deck, you can CB1 to bounce the multiple copies to hand. So if like you need PGs, you can just call both of these out from deck, CB1, and bounce both to hand off Katrina, so that way you have 2 PGs and then triple drive, so you're able to guard some attacks. This is mainly for defense and to open up some room in the trigger spots, but this card overall is okay at best. And then to round off the grade ones is 1 copy of the Musketeer Ruth. There's some weird choke points inside Neo Nectar where you kind of actually need like a counterblast, and so this is like actually a really good way to make the CB because it retires itself and countercharges 1. So you're able to, like in Katrina setups where you're able to like call a plant token maker in the front and then like call another card here. This will kill itself and then you can pop the plant token here where it was, so that way you have a strong booster behind whatever you called up in the front lane. On your triggers, playing 4 of the Stride crit, 3 of the Into Soul crit, and 2 of the Vanilla crit. I actually kind of value having Vanilla crits in the deck, just because of Cyclone, since that's the main flip target with Katrina. These become actually a little like big, beefier boosters, and it has come up where like I need like a little bit of a stronger column, and this card really doesn't do it. But I still value that this can go into Soul and draw us cards and buff our Vanguard, but like more times than not, I'm probably gonna want to call this card if I have to compare the two, if I have a Cyclone up, because it becomes like a 10k booster versus a 4, and so that's where the value of like having the Vanilla V crits comes in, for sure. So 9 crit total. 2 draw PG. Draw PGs are good. This is one of the other ways Neo Nectar can draw. It's just like by checking these, and it has us have space in the main deck for some cards. Then 4 Heal Guardians. These are so crucial, especially because you're trying to like grade 2 game a lot in this deck. Like it's so important against like the Mega Colony matchups and things where they can just like flip cards and just shut you out of the game. So like having Heal Guards to be able to grade 2 game or live up a ride up turn is so important. So it's 4 all day, every day. And then you love them, you hate them, over trigger. But thankfully, zoos get the Omni trigger, so you gotta love that. On to the G Zone. 3 Katrina, 3 Cyclone, 2 Ps in a pod right here. So Katrina will just flip this up, and then all your plant tokens become 15 on their first stride, then get plus 20. So it just goes up by 5k every time, the more of these you can flip. Katrina is just so good. It builds you a board for free, extends for free. There's like, this card was banned for a reason, although I'm glad to see it back because definitely Neo Nectar needed the help. But that's all being said. This is the only card you're really going into, but there's a couple more options that I'll show you guys, but you guys know now why Katrina is back around. I'm playing 2 of the Ladislava. This is our card for like the Mega Colony matchup. Like this is the only way you're going to be able to restand like parts of the board, because it's just a big struggle for you to play into Mega Colony because they turn off your ability to call plant tokens in general. So just being able to like have a Vanguard that swings CB and like can restand units is impactful, because most of the time your board will just be locked out anyway, and she can help you find pieces to call from hand with their search effect. So that's why she's good, and she's only really here for the Mega Colony matchup because just again Gridora turns off Katrina. And then for if you can't stride, we're playing the Sandrine. You never go into this card. I've never gone into this card yet, but it just is for like the scenarios where, oh, I expended my hand, I can't stride, but I have tokens on board, so I can just CB1, retire 2 tokens, and just get a fat Vanguard with a crit, so can come up in situations. For G-Guards, 2 Ontero. Ontero's pretty good just because you're able to get a pretty beefy shield. This is 35k shield for when you have 1 rear guard or 4, and you're just able to do a bunch of things because it gets 5k and then it gets 15 when it hits those stipulations. So it's like 35k G guard, which for like even back then in G era was huge, and it's still very relevant today as one of the few G guards that's like survived the power creep. Speaking of new G guards though, we have 2 of the new G guard. This is Linda. She is the card that lets you put cards back to deck. So you choose 2 cards, 2 normal units with the same name, you tuck them back to deck. She gets 15k and you countercharge 1. This card is like so good. It's a 30k shield that gives you back resource and gives you back call targets for Katrina. One of the Dragon. This card is not as good in this deck as if we were playing Enos, where like Enos would be able to get defensive power off of whatever you call, but this is still important that if you're on the grade 3 Grand Jewel Dragon, you're able to actually like call a plant token maker, which then calls a 10k interceptor, which then you can intercept with the 10k interceptor to make a 30k shield, and if you call the Sylvia, you can intercept with the Sylvia too. So you just are able to make a little more shield with that, but this card doesn't come up as much since you're not playing Enos. one of the flip G-Guard. This card really never comes up, but it's there for like if you need it. That's kind of my application. Like it's really just on Tarot or like the cycle G-Guard, because most of the time you're just like killing your opponent, like on the first Katrina. And then one Dismal. This is to protect rear guards that are important, such as like the Horticulture Elf and other things. And that's why you kind of just need this card, is because it comes up in some weird situations where like they'll pressure your left on board attack extenders, and that's why you just want this card here. But yeah, as you can see, like just because of how good of a card Katrina is, it opens up a lot of the G zone for other slots. Then you just have like your regular plant tokens, your 10k plant tokens, and we are always going Force 1 in this deck, just because we love the power level and numbers. But that is going to do it all for today, guys. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all again for 500. It's been such an amazing privilege to continue to give you guys content, and I am looking forward to making so many more and have more match videos up soon. Again, if you are available August 12th and 13th, come see me and the rest of the Kingslayers down at Decks and Dice for our 1K tournaments. They are sure to be a banger, and I can't wait to see you. But I will catch you all later. I love you all, and take care.